Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Aashitha and I'm going to be explaining the chapter Web Applications and Security from Computer Science. It's unit 4 and it's chapter 15 to 25, I think, from our computer science textbook, grade 10. Yeah, chapter 15 to 25. We're on page 268. I found these really helpful notes online, and I'll be using those to explain this chapter. Okay, so chapter 1 or 15 is working with accessibility options. Working accessibility options. Okay, so this is chapter 15, just the first chapter of this unit. Okay, so this chapter is, let me just read out the first paragraph of what's given in the textbook, which is usually the introduction. With the advent of digital technology and consequent transformation in the society due to affordable smartphones, all sections of the society are growing technologically. So there's no justification why one particular section should be deprived of technological growth. This section of society consists of those people who have visual, hearing, or any other type of physical impairment. Organizations such as Microsoft are making special products for physically impaired people so that they're also able to use technology. So basically the introduction here is the how computers and growing technology are making it easier for physically impaired people to use this technology. Common impairments that affect the computer users. So first, different types of impairments, like handicappedness is called impairments. So the different types of impairments that affect your usage of a computer, right? So let me just write that heading. That affect computer usage. Right, so let me double underline this so we don't get mixed up with the main headings. All right, so yeah. The common impairments are as follows. First up is visual impairment. So visual impairment. Visual impairment includes the inability to see or read due to blindness, color blindness, impaired eyesight, glaucoma, cataract, or other age-related diseases of the eye. So either you might just have like bad eyesight, or you might be blind, you might be colorblind. You may have this disease called glaucoma, or cataract, or other diseases that are due to age. So let's just write down the different reasons or impairments under visual impairment, right? So first up is impaired eyesight. So let's just write bad eyesight because we're kind of overusing impairment here. Bad eyesight, blindness, color blindness, and glaucoma, cataract, other age-related diseases. So this is visual impairment. Now let's move on to hearing impairment. Hearing impairment refers to the inability to hear beeps or other warning sounds, or even the audio portion of the video on the computer. So when you're using a computer, let's say you're watching a video, if your hearing is impaired, you won't be able to listen to the audio of this certain video, which would make it quite confusing. Or let's say when you're typing, you accidentally click caps lock. Usually that makes a sound, a small beep, and you'll be warned that caps lock is on. If your hearing is impaired, you may not realize, and it's kind of a waste of time. The same with number lock and other such buttons on the keyboard of computers. And there are also error messages that make sounds. So such things won't be audible to those who have impairment of the hearing. So the next one is hearing impairment. I'm going to attempt to draw an ear here. Okay, pretend that looks like an ear. So this is hearing. Okay, my stylus is a little sticky. Impairment. They would not be able to hear error messages, error beeps, or warning beeps. For example, my laptop used to have this issue where my older one, where it would continuously keep beeping, and we didn't understand why, and we had to get it fixed multiple times due to this beeping. Whereas a person with hearing impairment may not have been able to hear such beeping in their computer, which is actually, it was actually a warning that the memory card was full, and the hard drive or something, not really technicky, but the hard drive or something was also messed up. So the warning beep that the laptop was making was trying to tell us that there was an issue with the laptop. Whereas someone with hearing impairment wouldn't be able to hear this, and they'd just be wondering why their laptop isn't switching on. So And the other issue being a lot of videos which don't come with captions or subtitles would be quite useless to someone who is impaired by the hearing. So they won't be able to hear audio parts of videos. Okay, next is physical or motor impairment. This impairment refers to the inability to control the mouse or keyboard due to injuries or loss of hands or fingers, stiffness in the finger joints, or tremors in the hand due to some diseases. So now we have physical motor impairment, which takes up like the limbs. So usually you need your hands and arms to use a computer. So let's just draw a hand here. So physical motor in physical or motor impairment. So they can't control the mouse or keyboard. Maybe depends. Control mouse, keyboard, or other such devices. Like let's say you need headphones on your computer, they won't really be able to use it without some assistance. Keyboard, please don't mind the background noise. Mouse or keyboard, and this would be due to injured hands, or stiffness in joints. Or shaky hands due to diseases, tremors in hands due to diseases. All right. So and then there's learning disabilities. So people with like dyslexia or some autistic people and other such people, it's not really their fault, but like they may not be able to read or understand or comprehend certain things on a computer, right? So that's another impairment, right? This is a brain. Just thought I'd try to draw it. That does not look like a brain, but pretend this is a brain. This is a brain. Right? So learning disabilities, right? Disabilities. Just thought I'd point out, those of you who know anyone with learning disabilities, don't make fun of them. It's not their fault. And people with learning disabilities are often really smart. So again, don't just assume someone is not smart or something due to learning disabilities. Everyone is good at stuff and it's not their fault. All right, so Let me just read out what's in the textbook. The inability to read and comprehend or difficulty in learning and understanding. The written test is referred to as learning disability. Right? So let's just give some examples from prior knowledge. Honestly, I don't know many, but I had a friend who was dyslexic and an autistic friend who had issues concentrating, but he was super talented at art. Etc. Okay, so these were all the disabilities or impairments. So let's just go over them one more time. So common impairments that affect the computer usage of a person, visual impairment such as bad eyesight, blindness, color blindness, glaucoma, cataract, and other age-related diseases. And then there's hearing impairment. Either they cannot hear the error beeps and warning beeps, which makes it hard to use a computer, or they may not be able to hear the audio parts of videos, which is kind of an important part of computer usage quite often. Then there's physical or motor impairment, which means they may not be able to control a mouse, or keyboard, or other external devices. Maybe due to injured hands, stiffness in the finger joints, tremors in the hands due to diseases or weakness or old age. And then there's learning disabilities, dyslexia, and autism. There was also ADHD. I'm not really sure. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so those were common impairments. Not all of them, just a few impairments which people face when they're trying to use a computer, and it's harder for them to use a computer then. Right, so this chapter basically focuses on how people with like specially abled users can use the accessibility settings of their computers and use them more easily. And this chapter is focusing on Windows computers. So let me just write that in simple terms. So this chapter focuses on the accessibility options available on Windows. And which make using a computer easier for especially abled people. And just to note that it's not necessarily only for especially able people, people who are perfectly, well, like they don't have the same impairments. Even those people can use these accessibility options to make it easier to use a computer when you're like really tired or something, such things. So Let's start with some of these accessibility options. Okay, so this is where we go to this website. It's called csiplearninghub.com. I found it really useful, just that I just learn better when I'm explaining, so I thought I'd make this explanatory video to help other people as well as me figure out some computer science, because it's not really my strongest subject. Okay, so let's just go to the different accessibility options, and then we'll go to how to get to them. Actually, let's just figure out how to launch it first. It seems small enough. So in Windows, if you were to launch the accessibility options, all you have to do is you go to Control Panel. Let me just write this down. Launching accessibility options. Right? So all you have to do is first go to Control Panel. Go to Control Panel. And then click on the Ease of Access Center option. Step 2. Click on the ease of access center. Ease of access center button. And this will show you the ease of access center. Then you click on whichever option you want, right? So step 3 is just clicking on the option you want. Excuse me for spelling errors. I'm not really English right now. And excuse my wonderfully terrible handwriting. Preferred option. Okay, so this is how you go and launch the accessibility options. First, go to Control Panel, then click on the Ease of Access Center button, and click on the preferred option. So I'm just going to try to do this. Not really sure if it'll work, but like, let's try it, right? So Control Panel, and then you want Ease of Access Center.
Always scan this section.
Okay, so these are all the options. I mean, this is like why you can use them. These are the options. Oh, my bad. Okay, so these are some of the common.
Start Magnifier.
I'm not really sure why it is.
Start narrator.
doing that. Okay, so
Start on screen keyboard. Set up high contrast.
yeah. So these are the
Start magnifier. Start narrator.
okay, so let's just
Start on screen keyboard.
well, that's annoying.
Set up high contrast.
All right, so basically how you can
Start
use this,
magnifier.
not from the textbook, but like start magnifier. So magnifier is probably going to help
Start narrator.
with visual impairments. The narrator would probably also help with the
Start on screen keyboard.
if you're visually impaired, it would probably help. If you have bad eyesight, it would probably help.
Set up high contrast.
And or if you're like can't see at all, it would be quite
Start
helpful.
magnifier.
A narrator narrate out what's written on your screen. The
Start narrator.
board, this will help with probably those with the physical or motor impairment.
Start on screen keyboard.
Let's say it's hard for them to type or something like that.
Set up high contrast.
They can use the on-screen keyboard, and high contrast would probably also help with eyesight, because you can see it says it increases contrast in colors to reduce eye strain. Right? So these are some of the accessibility options. Okay, so now let's take a look at the different accessibility options, right? Okay, so let's go back to this wonderful website. So first one is sticky keys. Yeah. So I googled this earlier. Sticky keys. Basically, I guess it gives you options on how to use. I mean, not how to use. It gives you options for like once you type a few letters of a word, it'll give you options on like which word you can type out instead of typing the whole thing. So it enables the user to enter key combinations by pressing keys in sequence rather than simultaneously. Okay, so I totally misunderstood that earlier. So you know how let's say you have this really useful tab, all right, sticky keys tab. Instead of going you accidentally close it. Now instead of typing out that whole thing, you know the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-T is going to open this back up. Now, let's say you've got the physical motor impairment and your fingers are trembling, so it'll take you longer to go Control-Shift-T all at once. So instead, you can turn on sticky keys. I believe it's clicking on Shift 5 times. So basically, if you turn on sticky keys, you can click Control-Shift-T at like, not all at once, but like you can click one at a time and the shortcut would still work. Okay, so let's write down sticky keys. So number one, sticky keys allows you to click on the buttons of keyboard shortcuts. One at a time. So please ignore my earlier very incorrect explanation. But the correct explanation is that sticky keys lets you click on the buttons of a shortcut one at a time instead of all at once. This will also help out with people who are beginning to use keyboards for the first time, or if you've got like smaller hands or something and your hand can't span over the keyboard or something. It'll also help you instead of clicking all of them at the same time. Right, so the next option is filter keys. It tells the keyboard to ignore brief or repeated keystrokes, making typing easier for people with hand tremors. Right, so let's say your hand keeps shaking. Then it's going to be hard for you to type, and you might end up clicking the same key multiple times. So filter keys make sure that it won't take it. Your computer would ignore the key that you press too many times. It'll only take it once. So you can pause and click on it again. So filter keys, it ignores accidental repeated clicks. Of a button of the keyboard. Other than people with hand tremors, this would also probably help out with people who are typing really fast. You end up clicking the same letter a bunch of times accidentally. So it'll help you out as well. All right, next one is toggle keys. Toggle keys is an accessibility function which is designed for people who have vision impairment or cognitive disabilities. When toggle keys is turned on, the computer emits sound cues when the locking keys, like caps lock, number lock, or scroll lock, are pressed. So those with vision impairment or with like learning disabilities or cognitive disabilities, who wouldn't have noticed that caps lock or number lock or scroll lock have been accidentally clicked on, it'll make that warning beep. And you'll realize that you've accidentally clicked on this. Or even if you want to make sure that it has turned on when you're trying to turn on purpose, helps you out with that too. So this was toggle keys. So this will emit warning beep when what are they called? Locking keys, right? So the computer emits a warning beep when locking keys are turned on. It also beeps when they're off, like switched off. When locking keys are turned on or off. Okay, and this will help with those with visual or cognitive disabilities. Next up is these would be in the keyboard tab of the accessibility options. Let me just mention that. Oops. These three are the keyboard tab. So all the options for keyboards. Okay, next up is sound tab. So all these sound related options. Okay, so the sound Sentry is the first one. It's used to help people with auditory or hearing impairment. So a sound sentry generates a visual warning, such as a blinking title bar or a flashing border whenever the computer makes a sound. So for example, the caps lock button is clicked, then instead of beeping, it may beep as well as, let's say that tabs thingamabob, what's this thing called? This thingy may blink, right? So this is Sound Sentry. So number one, Sound Sentry. It gives visual warnings along with the audible ones. Okay, so such as a blinking title bar or borders of the window, etc. So this is for those with hearing impairment. Next up is show sounds. So show sounds instructs applications that convey information by sounds to also provide information visually through text captions or informative icons. So for example, when caps lock is turned on, you'll get a beep, but if you turn on show sounds, it'll probably also give you an error message that says caps lock has been turned on. Okay, so let's let's write that down. So this was called what's called show sounds. Okay, so show sounds allows or it shows a message or a caption with the warning sounds. With a warning sound. Okay, I think that's all for sound. Then yeah, now we have the display tab. Okay, so display. So the display tab has the following. It's got high contrast and cursor options. We saw high contrast earlier, so it high contrast assists people with vision impairment. So you can change the size and color of fonts and the background for the ease of viewing. So let's say you don't like the font color of a certain tab, or let's say this paint thing. Let's say it's not paint, it's a document, and we've got blue and maroon, or dark red according to this. So instead of having these colors, which let's say you're colorblind and don't have enough contrast, so you can't really tell them apart very well. So it's gonna put a lot of strain on your eyes. So you can click on high contrast, and you can change the colors or the font size so that it's easier for you to read. So this is high contrast. Allows the user to change the font or color of the text. Or change the background color. Okay, Next we have cursor options. So cursor options is also an option which allows people with vision impairment to, which helps people with vision impairment. So it changes the rate of blinking and the width of the cursor. So you see my cursor here. Let's say I have, let's say I'm long-sighted. I'm actually short-sighted, but let's say I'm long-sighted. In that case, let's say I have trouble seeing this mouse cursor, because it's really tiny. So I could go to cursor options and I could change how big this cursor is. Or let's say I have really bad eyesight, so I can't see how fast the cursor blinks, let's say. Then you can change the its like speed to blink, so you can actually see it better. This was cursor options. So this allows the user to change the size of the cursor, the size or the blinking rate of the cursor. Okay, so let's make this a little visual. This is your cursor. Okay. That's not gray. So, gray. Give me a second. Okay, I'm gonna assume it's gray. I can't really tell. It looks like that color. All right, so this here is your cursor. Oh, that's bigger than expected. 1 second. Okay, this right here is your cursor. Now, if you're short-sighted and you can't find your glasses, your cursor is really tiny. So you can go to cursor options and make it a bit bigger so you can actually see it when you're using it. You can also change how fast it blinks, and this will really help you out. Okay, the next thing is mouse keys, which is under the mouse tab. Okay, so we go back to Paint. Oops, again. Let me just make this smaller. So you have mouse keys, which is the only one under it. So what mouse keys does is it helps people who have difficulty using a mouse. Let's say you've got shaky hands and you're trying to use a mouse, but it keeps going like this, and you can't really see what you're pointing at or trying to click on. Trying to click on a button. Let's say I'm trying to click on this, but it keeps moving. So I'm not going to be able to efficiently use the computer during this. So I'm going to want to use the keyboard instead. Let's say it's just easier for me to use a keyboard than the mouse, because this is going to get really annoying at some point of time. So this allows you to use the keyboard, especially the numeric keypad, as a pointing device instead of a mouse. So instead of using this mouse, you can probably use the number pad, and you can probably go to a specific part of the screen just by clicking the numbers. Okay, so just go here. What was it? Right, numeric keypad. Okay, so this allows the user to operate the mouse using keys on the keyboard. Okay, that's mouse tab, and finally we have the general tab. Okay, so the general tab has serial keys. So serial keys is an accessibility feature that assists people that have difficulty using a keyboard or a mouse or both. So they can use special devices such as sip, puff, and breath switches to provide input to the computer through serial ports. I'm not really sure what this is, so let me Google it. Okay. So you can sip on or puff into this thingy, and it'll take it as a button, basically. It's like clicking on an option. So let's take this simple picture here. I assume you connect this into the USB port of your computer, and this would be the piece that you'd blow into or sip from. So basically exhale or inhale through your mouth, and this would take it as a button. That is a smart usage thing. Didn't know that existed, but it sounds cool. So instead of using a mouse or keyboard, you can sip or puff into something called a breath switch, and you can use it like a mouse or keyboard. So basically, you can breathe as and use your breath as a mouse or keyboard. So this was called serial keys. Serial keys. What one? There's only one. Okay, so serial keys. Can you hear me? Hello? Wow. this is the whole video for this chapter, so I sincerely hope you guys can hear me. So serial keys is basically when allows the user to use sip and puff breath switches. Did I spell that right? Yeah, I did not. Oh, okay. Instead of a mouse or keyboard. Or both. Okay, so I do know that I made this really boring and kind of lame listening to, but that would mostly be because this is the revision of mine that helps me also understand this unit. So that's all for our chapter 15 video. I'm going to literally do 10 different videos to figure this unit out, because it's our longer unit for term 2 portions. So yeah, thank you for watching, listening, or dealing with me here. But this is my explanation of web applications and security chapter 15 working with accessibility options. Thank you.